Welcome to In the Lab with Gary B. Jr. This is all about how we can make ourselves better using the tools that we have. And we're going to be talking a lot about FreeShow today. We're going to be talking a lot about all kinds of good stuff. And so, let me see here. I got a lot of new things going on. So I'm testing some stuff out, but at the same time, I want to make sure you guys can hear me okay. And let me know in the chat where you're joining from. I can't wait to hear from you. Today we're talking all about how to build your structure, how to add structure to your setup. Let me see here. We're going to start with a very basic free show perspective, and if we got time, we're going to go to a couple of other things. But these are some things in the lab is really just the thoughts that I have, and I guess you can call them philosophies or ideas that come along with what we do so often and what we do on a daily basis. So it's making me log in real quick on my OBS. But in the meantime, where are you joining from? Let me know, where are you joining from and how do you currently build your structure in FreeShow? How do you build your structure in FreeShow? And when I say build your structure, I mean, how do you make it to where it's more efficient? How do you make it to where it is streamlined? How do you make it to where it works best for you? And so I got an email, but I lost where it went. Let's see here. Let's see. All right. So, as I said, I'm Gary B. Jr. Today we're going to talk about how you're going to make your free show process an important part of this. And it's something that's pretty much a given. But if you're coming from another program and you never used Pro Presenter or Free Show before, it's pretty daunting to look at what Free Show is and look at a blank slate and understand what to do. And I saw this all last, all last year with people sending me emails, people sending me messages, leaving comments, is that they didn't know where to start with this program. And so today we're going to talk about how you can help yourself get started with this particular program if you're new to it. All right. And so I'm just pulling in my control panels and all that kind of stuff. I had to put that email in there a couple times. So my question to you is, how many of you all currently use project templates? How many currently use project templates? And this is an important component no matter what you do. Okay. So um, I think that it's important for us to understand this, because if we don't understand project templates, then we're going to run into some challenges across the board where we're going to always be making new shows, new presentations, and new projects, and never really having a firm footing or firm foundation of what's going on. And so today I'm going to talk about 3 ways that you can make the most out of your project templates to where they literally simplify your workflow, they add structure to your workflow, and they allow you to have a professionalism with your workflow that you've probably never seen before. And it's a really simple step. So let me pull up my free show real quick. My free show is always a bit of a mess. I don't advise that at all, but that's only because I do a lot of testing. So bear with me. Bear with me. So let me share my screen here. All right. So you guys can see. So I just made a intro for in the lab, and one of the things I want to do is I wanted to have some music playing. Now the music, when I activated ADI primary, it didn't activate the audio automatically, so I had to go back and turn on the audio. So the first part of it wasn't playing music on the live stream, but what I did was I simply just made a slide. I made a new show, added a slide image to it, and then I actually added an audio playlist, and I just called it Lab Intro, and it's just one song that I downloaded. I dragged that whole playlist because playlists will automatically repeat. Excuse me. They'll automatically go on a loop. And so you can drag the entire playlist onto your show. Hold on just a second. All right. So you can drag the entire playlist onto your show and it'll automatically just loop that audio when you select that particular show. And then I added in another slide here that was just a camera feed from the media so I could easily get started. I just dragged actually this camera feed, this my main camera feed onto the next slide and I just went to that and I unmuted myself and made sure we were able to get going. So that's a real quick and simple step. But let's say I wanted to turn this particular project, okay, this particular show, I should say, into a project template. How could I do that? So the first thing I need to do is I need to make a project. So I'm going to call this in the lab, and we're going to call it in the lab intro. All right. I hit enter, and then I'm going to go to where that show is. And this show is here. It's called in the lab. So I'm just going to drag that over here. And so I got this lab intro. And what I want to do with it is I want to use this every Monday. I want the lab intro to be the thing that plays. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to come in each week and I'm going to drag in a new um, cover thumbnail to it, right? So I'm going to bring in the new thumbnail to it on top. And so I'm going to keep this here as my project called In the Lab Intro. I got my lab intro show. And I can set a time to it if I want to. So I can go up here and I can put a section. I'll say new section. And we can call this one intro slide. And then I'll make this say it should start up at 6, we'll say 6:20. And it's AM. So I'm gonna put an AM in there. Okay. That's the lab intro slide. Now what I can do is I can bring in that video, let me pull this into that particular section. So I made a section called lab intro slide. I could bring in a video to it if I want to as a separate show to say, hey, once this is done, then I want to go to the next show. And that's something that you guys could do in terms of your regular service. Let's say you're using this for church. You will likely have multiple different sections with multiple different shows in each section. All right. So make sure that you understand that when you're making your project is that your project is going to be made up of a number of different sections. For me, I like to change the color of my section. And so this one for in the lab, I'll make it be pink. All right. And so now I got my in the lab slide intro or intro slide, I should say. And then what we can do here is I can put in some other things. So I can say, you know what, I want to make another section and I want that section to be called talking points. All right. And in this one, I'm going to change the color of that. I'll make it be green because that's like us getting started, getting going. And then I can add in another show. So I'll keep this in the show, in the lab category. And I'm going to say new show. And I'll call it, what's today? Today's 223. So say 223, 26 lab points. And we'll do quick lyrics. And I'm going to put in there project templates. And we'll say times. We're going to say stage display and dynamic values. Those are our points for today. All right. And then I can say create my show. And I got a basic show there. And then I can go in. I'm going to add in a simple backdrop to it. Okay. And I'm going to go to my YOLO box files and we will do video backdrops. And I always like this one right here. This is one of my favorites. Let me see what that looks. I like the way that looks. This one might look better for the lab though. I don't know. Totally up to you guys. What do you guys think? You guys like the blue streaks or the tile floor? The blue streaks or the tile floor? I don't know which one is better, but I'll stick with this one. I'll stick with this one. All right. And then I can pick a template for it. If I want it to be super big, I can do that and move it over to the left with a little background to it. I don't necessarily like the background, So I could make it be, let's see, that's for scriptures. Let's do songs. These are all centered. I could make it be centered at the top. Just the default bold and big. I like the default bold and big, but I also like my faded blur too. I always like the blur box. Not the faded blur, but the blur box. That one for me is like gold. So I like that. And then I also like the where's the fade? This one's pretty nice too. So I'm okay with either one of those. So if I select that, this is what we'll get. Yeah, I like the blur box more than that one. So we'll do blur box and update that. And so we'll have something like that. All right. So we're talking about our project templates. I got this. Now my talking points, what time is it? 6:45. So we'll say at 6:45, I'll just select that one time and I'm gonna say 06 and we'll say 6:50. We'll jump into it. AM. All right. And so you'll see that there's actually some notes there, but it's hard to see with that color. So I'm going to select this, right click on it, change the color. We'll make it be like a dark blue so you guys can see that a little bit better. So you'll see here it's got 6:50 and then it's got 3 minutes until we get to the talking points. All right. Um, Now I've already kind of introduced those talking points, but I wanted to put this in there so you guys can see it. And now I've added my times to my project, but I have to make this into a template. Okay. And so what I would do is I'll go back out and I've got it here in the lab intro. So I can right click on that and I can say create a template. Boom. And I'm going to say in the lab. I'll put the in there this time and hit enter. And so now whenever I want to do in the lab, I can just come in and I can actually make a whole new folder if I want to, because this is called Free Show Friday. So I can go in here and I'm going to say new folder and I'm going to call it in the lab. And this is all about adding structure. So I'm going to bring this into 2026 and come into 2026. And let's see here what we got. We got free show projects, we got in lab, and I would just say in the lab intro right here. So I can select that and it should put it, let me go back out. It should put it in there, but it puts the date in there. Okay. And if I hit enter, it brings it up. Now it's got 0201. Let me see here. That's an interesting date. Let me see what that date is for. Usually we'll put today's date. Let me go to my general settings. So I got it set to where it's going to give me 7 days forward. So it should be next week. So what is next week? It should be 0301. That's interesting. But if I go to in the lab and select that, there we go. It should bring it into there. Now it's doing 02, but I want it to be 03, I guess. I don't know what the 7 days from today is. It could be 301. That's a good question. All right. But I can put that in there. And now I've got this whole piece set up and I've got it set to next week, I guess, sometime next week. I got to look at my calendar to verify that. But that's what we have. So we've created our project template. All right. That's our first point, creating a project template. Okay. Let's look and see. We got a comment here. Hi, I need help with FreeShow making the PC slow when I connect another display via the mobile app. Yes. And so if you're using the connect option through the mobile app or just through the program itself, it does take a toll on the RAM on your computer. So if your computer doesn't have a lot of RAM, you will see some lagging going on. So my question to you, Phantom Hacker 3417, how much RAM do you have on your computer? How much RAM do you have on your computer would be the question. So let me know. Let me know in the comments. All right. And so let's see here. Let's talk about times. All right. So times have to do with when we make our project, organizing it by time, whether it's a church service, whether it's a special event, whether it is a podcast, you want to organize it by times because if you organize it by times, it gives you a clear and simple roadmap of what you should be doing and when you should be doing it. And navigating through that particular show at that time is really helpful for you as a media person, as a volunteer, as a creator, as a podcaster, whatever it is going to really be helpful. So it's a really good way for you to organize your flow. And so we're talking about adding structure. Now, FreeShow doesn't require you to add a time there. Some of the other programs you came from, they may not require it, but they may not even allow it, right? And so when we talk about adding structure, I'm talking about it from the standpoint of figuring out what your parameters, what you want those parameters to be, and then adding them in. So I added 620 here for this, and then I can put in another one. I'll make another show here, and we'll call this one Start Show. I got my show set to start at 6:30, so I can right click on there, change the color of that section, and we'll make this one, we'll make it this green instead of super bright green. And I'm gonna make it be at 6:30 a.m. And now I got this section I can bring up here, and I got start show. Now what I need to do is I need to put in a actual show in there, and I'm gonna resave this particular template because I'm updating the template. Okay, I'm updating the project that's gonna become the template, I should say. So we got in the lab points there. What I'll do is I might bring in that same show. Let's see here, lab start show there. I might do it this way. We'll say right click, and I'm going to duplicate. We're going to call it lab intro video. All right. And so we don't need this one here. I'll remove that, and I'm going to bring in the lab intro video in the lab intro video. It doesn't need this slide. So I'll delete that by simply right clicking on it. And let me mute that audio here. That's the top screen. All right. But I can go down here and I can say delete slide, and I'll clear all to make it stop playing. And so now this just has a video to it. All right. And so this is the start show. This is the lab intro. And it's going to automatically just be seamless. So when I go from here to here, I want the music to stop. So I'm going to go ahead and here, and I'm going to add a function that's going to say clear audio. So do I have any? I got clear audio here. That's a MIDI one though. Let's see here. If I do a search for clear audio, I just got that one. All right. Let's see if I got one called clear music. Nope. All right. So I need to add in a clear audio action that I want to happen. And so I guess I could just right click on this too, and I can do slide action, and I can say start action, and we'll say clear audio. Boom. And I don't think it did anything. It should show up something there. Let's see here. Start action, clear audio. So if I go there and come here, nope, because there's nothing on this slide. This is basically just a simple I don't know what you call it. I just dragged in that background. So I don't think it's gonna let me do it. That's a good issue. Let me see here. Let me try dragging this on there. Will it go? Okay, so we'll take an action. Let me create one. So we'll go new action. I'll just call it clear audio. That one I had earlier was like a MIDI action, which I don't want. So I'm gonna call this clear audio, and there it is there. I can drag that there. So now when I come here to in the lab and I arrow over to the right, you're gonna see the audio goes away, and now I can just begin doing my show. All right, that's the idea. All right, so we've got our times in there. I've got 6:20, 6:30, and 6:50. Now we move on to the next part. The reason why the times are so important is because we're going to use our stage display as a major piece of the puzzle. Okay. The stage display is going to be the next major component of this. Since we've added our times, what you can do with your stage display is you can go in, and I've got a stage display created here. It's got a loop video going on. So I got a video display going on down there, but I've got my time, and then I got this here. This is showing the actual slide number. That's a really small number. Let's see. Which one is it? I got a bunch of these. Okay. That is so weird. Let's see here. Let me go to font. It's set to grow to fit. And now it's gotten big. Okay. So it's good. If you see your slides looking weird, just go to them and click on that particular item, and it should update automatically. All right. And so let me go back to my show. If I change these times to be something different, so let's say this was, instead of it 6:20, I change this to be 7:20 because I want you guys to be able to see what's going on here. And I'll make this be 7:30 and this one to be 7:50. What I did on my stage was I added a component and I called it a dynamic value. So on my stage, I can control my show. First of all, that's the main thing. On your stage, you can add in some dynamic buttons that allow you to do next slide, previous slide, things like that. All right. If you want to know how to do that, go to one of my videos. I think it's called Control the Show uh, from the Stage, I believe is what it's called. I can't remember. Control your show from the stage. I believe that's what it's called. All right. But I added those dynamic values. And so if you look here, this one is just text. It's just a text box that says uh, in time until, let me see here, until time. Let me see what I call it. It is called, oh, it's just the time. So that's the dynamic value at the top. And then it's until the intro slides. All right. So this is a dynamic value that is, if you go to items here, you'll see that I've got, I'm going to go to selected. I want to see it. All right. So stage message, project section, and then text until, and then it says uh, project section next. And so earlier we made our project sections. I made a dynamic value that's going to automatically put in there what section I'm about to come up to. Okay. And then it says time until the next section. All right. That's what that next box is about. So project section time until, and let me show you guys what that looks like. And so if we go to here, I'm trying to think about where I got, actually, I just did it as a dynamic value. So I'll pull it in here to a show so you guys can see it a little bit easier. So if I were to go to edit, I'll make a new show, a new slide. And so if I right click in here and add a dynamic value, I can do project section next. But if I expand this, you get the project section next, and the project section time, and then project section time next, and then the project section time until next. All right. So this is the one that I like to use because it gives you a countdown. So if I select that, what'll happen is you'll see here that this is counting down until my next section is going to come up, my project section. So I changed those times. In your stage display, you will see that same time. So if I go to my stage, you'll see that 21 minutes down here at the bottom right. And let me pull my head out the way. Hold on. You'll see 21 minutes down here at the bottom. And what'll happen is it shows you 21 minutes until the intro slide. All right. And so now I have this structure built in to where I can see what's coming up next. People on the stage can see what's coming up next, and they can tell exactly how long they have until it comes up. All right. So how did we do that? How did we edit our stage display to have that content? So let's go to a new layout and we'll remake one. All right. So I can make this here. I'm going to call this one in the lab stage. And for here, we're going to have slide text. I want to have the slide text in there. All right. And I want it to be big across the top. All right. And then I want to have something else. So I'm going to go to something that's going to be more realistic. So it'll be something like this. All right. Project templates would be what we would see. All right. Now I want to add in another text box because my next text box, I want it to be the next slide. So I'll do next slide text. But I want it to be smaller. And I want it to be a little different color. So I'm going to make it be kind of grayed out. Let's pick gray. But I want to choose custom because I like my gray to be a little bit darker. Yeah, something like that. All right, cool. And then I want to put a border on this. So I'm going to select up here, pick border. I'll do the same thing for this one. Okay, I'll just select that and I'm gonna pick a border. So I go to item and I'll click on the border and click it twice and it automatically sets itself up to where it's there. Now, this is where we get to have fun. So now I can go back to items and I can add in these custom items. All right, so I'm gonna go to this. I'm gonna just put in a, let's see, I don't think we got the project items in this drop down. These are all like my own variables that I've made. There's a bunch of them here. So I made some game show variables and all that kind of stuff. So what you got to do is do a regular text box, right? Just a regular text box. And I'm gonna pull that over. Oh, not that part. This part of it, if I can catch it. There we go. I'm gonna pull that over here. And I'll say right click and say dynamic value. All right. And I'm gonna say project section. And it says right now there's no project section. But oh, that's because I'm not in a project. That's a good point. Okay, so we'll put in this one, and I'm gonna say at. I'm gonna right click again, and I'm gonna pick dynamic value and intro. And the next project section is gonna be at this time. So it says right now, let's go to that text box, and I'm gonna go to auto size. So project section here at so intro slide at 720 is what it says. Okay. I'm going to align all this to the left and I'll pull it over just a bit, something like that. So intro slide at 720, and I want this to be a different color. And all we're doing is we're just organizing, right? We're just adding structure to this. So I'm gonna make this be yellow, and I'm gonna make another one. This says another text box. So I go to items, we'll add a text box, and this one is gonna say, I keep dragging that whole thing. There we go. This one's gonna say next, and then I'm gonna hit enter, and I'm gonna right click in this space, and I'm gonna put another dynamic value, and I'll say project section time until next, and we'll put that there. All right. Now, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna change the times just so we can see, because right now I have not. This is actually the next one right here. Um, I wanted to probably say the current one instead of it being project section next. Let's delete that and let's say right click. We'll make it be project section that we're in, and then this one. Let's say we'll say currently. I'm trying to think about the best wording, and this is where you get to have fun with your structure. How do you want to word this? How do you want the people on stage to see this? So I might say currently in, and then I would say that's blank, and then I'll say here next at. So we'll do that, and then this one, we'll clear all this out. And then we'll say that one's starting at 720. So we'll say this is going to be project section time, time until next. And then I'll put in here in. All right. So in 15 minutes. Okay. And I'm going to left align this as well. And so that's there. All right. So now I've got this stage set up and I'm feeling good about that. I'm gonna make this be a little bit bigger because I don't mind it being big. And let's see, get that to be there. All right. And then I could put in today's date. I like to have my clock in there. So let's put our clock in. And if you guys are like me, I always forget what day it is and what time it is anyway. So it's really helpful. So I'm gonna pull this over to be like that. And we'll make this clock item. We'll change the font color to be kind of like a sky blue. and then I want to actually put in the date with it. So we'll say, boom, February, and we'll make it be like that. And I'll bring this down closer to the bottom. All right. Okay. So currently in, and then next at 7:20 in such and such minutes is what it's going to say. I'm looking up here at the top left. Okay. Now let's go back to our show. I bogusly made up some times. So right now it is 7:05. So I'm gonna make this be, instead of being at 7:20, I'm gonna make it like it already started. So we're gonna make this be like it started at 7 and hit enter. And I'll make this one be like it starts at 7:15 and hit enter. And I'll make this one be like it starts at 7:30. All right. So now when I look at my stage, let's go to, you can right click on your stage and then I'm gonna select edit. And I'm gonna pick the in the lab stage. All right. So now this is what my stage looks like. It's got project templates, times, and then currently in intro slide, and then the next at 7:15 in 8 minutes. I just added my own structure using my stage display combined with dynamic values. Now this is where it gets fun because you can talk to your team. So if you're at a church, you would talk to the leaders that are going to be on the stage, the worship leaders, the pastors, the teachers, whoever's making the announcements. Ask them what's important to them and put that content in there. And you can give them this example to help them understand it can be anything they want in terms of, if they want to see how much time they've got, you can show them this here. They want to see which project or which part of the service they're in, they can see that. They want to know the time. They can see that, right? So you put that content in front of them to make the service flow smoothly. If you got a podcast and you're a videographer, this setup is going to be unbelievable for your team that are going to be the talent on the podcast. Or if you're going to be on the podcast, you literally can break it up into segments, really simple and really easy. And this is something that you can even put on an actual slide for your audience to see, right? Not necessarily the stage. You can make it look like a stage, I guess, if you wanted to, but it'll be just a regular slide. But you can put that content into an actual slide. So in here, like you guys see here, I got this time here. I can make it say, instead of it just being that, I can go to edit here. So this says project section time until. And so I can say 7 minutes until, and then I can hit enter and I can right click and add a dynamic value. Okay. Now the dynamic value is going to be a project section next. All right. And so I want to see something real quick. If I can make this be one color, I don't know if I can or not. I thought I could, but I could be wrong. There we go. Okay. So yeah, so you can make that be one separate color. I don't know if it'll work that way on the stage layout, but you can do that here. Okay. So now in your podcast, you could have it look like this to where it shows, hey, 6 minutes until start of show, whatever, whatever the next thing is. All right. And that's just because it's based on this headers that you put here. So your headers play a significant role in what your audience or the folks on your stage will see. If you're doing an event, this is kind of a no-brainer. If you're doing a live event that's not a church service, it's not a podcast, and you got a lot of stuff on your plate, a lot of things to navigate, the folks that are coming up on stage, you might have 5 or 6 different people coming up at different points during the service or during the actual event. I'm sorry. This is going to be invaluable to them because they know that they're currently on what they're talking about, and they know what's coming up after them, so they can easily announce it. You got to think about the award shows and things like that, almost using your stage display as a teleprompter. Okay. And I'm not saying that's what I'm doing here. So that's a whole different discussion. I'm literally using it though to give valuable information for the folks that are on stage to manage. All right. And to keep up with. All right. So that's where I want you guys to be thinking about how to add structure into your flow of your service. And so building structure into your service, building structure into your meeting, into your podcast. FreeShow can help you do that. And today we did it with FreeShow mixed with the stage display, FreeShow mixed with the project template. So this is my project template. Let me go back and change my times, right? So I was manipulating all my times left and right. So that's just because I was trying to show you guys an example of what it would do. So I'm gonna put this back to 6:30, and I'm gonna put this one back to, I know this one's gonna be 6:20 actually. So this is where it's important, right? So I'm gonna make this be 6:20. Boom, and I'll make this one be at 6:30. And I'm gonna show you guys one quick tip, all right, on how to make this even more powerful to where you can make this automatically start for you, all right? So 6:20, that's gonna start, and that's just this, and it'll run. This is just gonna run nonstop, so I really don't even need this, so I can delete that out. Um, no, it's cool. It'll be when I come in, it'll be on that show. That's fine. All right, so my talking points, I'll bring that in. We'll say start show. It'll be like a welcome, and then at 6:30 we start. So I'll say this will be at 6:40. We'll say 6:40. Yeah, talking points, and then we'll go into some demonstrations. So it's a easy 20-minute simple outline of what's going on. All right, and now I've got that done. This says 3:01. All right, so I'm gonna go back here, and I'm gonna right click on this, and I'm gonna save this as a template. Boom, and I'm gonna call this in the lab. I'm gonna call it show, because it's not just the intro now, it's the whole show. And I'll delete this in the lab intro by just right clicking on it and hit delete. I've got a whole new template now, so when it comes to the next time, I can easily just run it. All right, but here's what I've got this show in the category called lab intro. If I select it, you'll see that's here. If I'm not careful, it's going to automatically show an old one. So I'm going to make that be a little bit different. I'm going to make it be a generic one. So I'm going to go back into, I got this stuff out of Canva. Let's see if I can go back into Canva and pull up. I'm going to just make a generic one. I don't even know where my thumbnails are. All right, let's see. Here we go. All right. So what I'm doing, I'm just going into Canva to make a whole new one. And I don't have that page for you guys, but let me pull this up real quick. I'm just going to make it real simple. Delete this stuff out. All right. And I'm just going to export this in the lab. And it could be a PNG. All right. And so basically what I'm saying is I want to start a generic one, but if I have time, I'm going to come in and I'm going to change this slide to where it will show an updated episode. But if it doesn't, it'll still just be generic enough to where it's not going to be a big deal. Okay. Now I'm going to go into my media and I'm going to move that particular show, that slide, to somewhere else. So it's not just living there, because it could become a problem. So I'm gonna put it into my documents and I'll put it into here, and we'll make a whole new folder. I'm gonna call it in the lab. Just a sec, you guys. I'm gonna show you exactly what I'm doing. I'm just trying to set it up for us to be able to see it. Okay. So now in my media, I just made a whole folder called in the lab. So if I go to my documents, let's see your downloads, documents. It's like there's some kind of filter on there. Let me go to countdown. That's interesting. Downloads. Wouldn't be there. Let me go back here. Let me say add a folder. And we'll do documents. We'll just say in the lab. And so here it is here. So I'm gonna just drag that on top of here to replace that. So now I've just got this generic in the lab. It's gonna go to me after that, but it's playing the music. And I'm gonna make it to where it automatically starts at 6:20. So I'm gonna go to calendar, schedule action, and I'm on Monday. Okay. So I'm gonna select that and I'm gonna say new scheduled action. And it gives you a whole set of options here for the new scheduled action. You get that and you can see pretty much everything that you want. And all I'm going to do is start a show. And I'm just going to do the lab intro. So I'm picking the lab intro and I want to start at 6:20. And this will start as long as FreeShow open, it's going to automatically start. All right. And so I will go to repeat every 7 days, right? 7 days until, and I'm going to just make this say 2035. I hit enter and I hit create. And so now I've got an action that's going to start my show right on time. Now it's going to start my show right on time in terms of at 6:20, as long as FreeShow is open, it's going to start this particular show on every Monday. You'll see it there. It's just automatically there for the next 10 years or so, right? And it's there by default. So if I can select this, you'll see there it shows you 6:20. If I select the 30th, you'll see March 30th. That's going to happen there at 6:20. If I go here to Friday, you'll see that I got a couple of things. So I got 10:50. I start a show called Will Begin Shortly for Free Show Friday, and then at 10:55, the Free Show Friday. All right. And so those are some things that you want to be careful or mindful of when you're doing your shows, because now you have control to structure your setup. All right. And so what we did today is we understood how to do our projects. We learned how to create a new project and turn it into a template by adding items or headers. I'm sorry. These are called new sections, not headers, but I call them headers, but we added sections. Okay. And so when we added our section, what it did is it gave us some kind of structure to our show or to our project. And then we added shows into that. So I made a lab intro, and then I made a lab intro video just to add another section to it. It really was there already, which is fine. But I made it there so we can have some more stuff. And then I added another show that has some talking points. So each week I'm gonna update my talking points on what I'm gonna do. And this will be a new slide each time, but our new show each time. But the only reason I can do that is because when I went back out, this is called 3-1. What I did was I right-clicked on this actual project that had all those headers in it. And I just right-clicked and I made it into a template. And what that does is it tells FreeShow to say, hey, save all these headers. And it actually saves all those shows that you put in there as well. And all you do is replace them. You just drag, remove them and put a new one in there. I actually right-clicked and hit create template, and I called it In the Lab Show. And so let me click out. So if I go to In the Lab Show here, what'll happen is I can go to my In the Lab folder, hit In the Lab, and you'll see that it automatically populates here, and I can call it whatever I want to, but it's going to be in that folder. And it defaults to putting this 201. And I'm not sure why it's doing that. I got mine set to be day 7 of the deal, but it's not showing up that way. So I'm not sure why it's going forward like that. But when I hit enter, it brings me right back to the exact same project, okay? Because it's a template, it's a duplicate of that, and I can easily go to it. So if you got a Sunday service, I would make one called Sunday Service, and it just has everything that you do on a Sunday service already laid out, all the times, because that's the next step. We added times in there next to each section, all right? And then when we got done adding the times into each section, we went in and we made a new stage layout that correlates with what is important for us on stage, where we added our project section because we made some sections, and we made project section time next to show when the upcoming section was going to be. And then we also made another one that's called the project, and I don't even know what this is called. Let me see what this is. I'm gonna go to there and go to shrink to fit. This was called in a certain amount of time. All right, so it's in 0 minutes up here right now because there's nothing coming up next. This one is set to shrink to fit as well, but it's currently the section we're in, and then the next section is in this time. All right, it says here also the next section time. So I got it currently in talking points next at 7:20, let's say, whatever it was, and that's in 15 minutes is what our folks on stage would see, which is really, really helpful. And then I just have the date in there because I'm the folks on stage. It's me, right? So I want to see that. I want to know what today's date is. All right. Now, the cool thing about that, putting it on stage, adding those dynamic values, is the people on stage can control the show if you want them to by adding some buttons in here to say next or previous. That's a whole nother section. Like I told you, that's a video that's already out. Check it out. I think it's called Control the Show from the Stage or something like that. So let me know what questions you guys have in the comments below, but also let me know how are you structuring and building structure into your free show layout, whether you're doing it for a church service, a podcast, an event, a school, government, whatever it is, live stream like I'm doing here. How are you adding structure into your free show? All right, you guys. I'm Gary B. Jr., and it has been a blast. Hopefully you guys learned something fun today, and have a great rest of the day. Thank you for watching this video. I really hope it helped you in a major way. Now, at this point, most people would ask you to like and subscribe, but my goal is a little bit different. My goal is to empower as many people as possible all over the globe. And there's one way that you can really help me do that, and that is to leave a comment below with a question, a thought, video may have helped you, or things that were left out that you still have questions about, and to share this video with someone just like someone who's curious and wants to grow. With your help, I believe we can build a community of people that want to grow together. So until next time.